Hey, how you doing? Let's do it to it. Okay. I'm gonna get a sip of the soda, and then I'm gonna get going on the game. This is Monto Carlo, 1903. It's the Muso Gambit. What is this? I can hear exclaim. A Muso Gambit in a tournament game? Well, the tournament was nearly its close, and I was determined to have some fun. The game was played on March 13th, which proved to be unlucky 13 indeed for Colonel Morus. Morus. Frank J. Marshall was white, and Colonel Morus was black. So e5, e4, e5, f4, pawn takes, knight to f3, g5, bishop b4, or c4, sorry. G4, castles, pawn, yeah, this was, there's a game that he plays, game 17. He talked that in this gambit here, you don't have to take here, you can just play knight to f6. But he took here. Queen takes. Queen to c6. Pawn f5. Queen takes e5. Bishop takes f7, exclaim. Here he says hallmarked back to the day of his idol Morphy, the man who named this the wild Mosul certainly knew what he was talking about. The normal, he actually played king to d1. He said that there is a line where you could take pawn d4, queen takes check, bishop to e3, leaves white with a powerful and lasting attack. However, black is no improvement, as white has a strong attack at relatively low cost. this is he lost two pieces, but if you think about it, the attack is devastating. So I played King D. Pawn there still. Bishop takes. King to rook. Rook to h6. With the idea of bishop c3. Queen to knight, queen to g7. Bishop c3. Knight to f6. And then bishop oh, sorry about that. I need to go back a little bit. I'm going to make sure I do this right. Queen d2. Queen b3. Bishop, there we go. Knight to e4. Ah, I did the wrong knight move. Knight a4. There we go. Now the knight actually is hanging because you can actually play bishop takes here. And if queen takes, and you've won the queen. Bishop to d, that was a mistake. The interesting thing is if he takes here, this is losing because of takes there. And when if he tries to block, now you're actually winning as white. So if you're wondering about that, You're wondering why he played c6. That's actually another mistake. Bishop takes. Pawn takes. Knight takes e. Queen to g. Queen g4, which if you played this here, that picks up the rook, so he blundered whatever advantage he had away. Rook takes. Well, surprisingly, this is mate and 7. Queen takes pawn check. King to d8. Can't be right. That can't be right. Oh. Not that. King to e7. Rook c1 check. Or e1 check. King b2. to g6, and then bishop, king 6 here, rotates bishop check, and then bishop to rook is mate. Alright, hey, how you doing? Alright. Okay, let's do it. Yeah, you said you were going to bring some games tonight, or some puzzles. Alright, let's do it to it. So black to move. Okay. Hmm. Interesting. Thoughts here. Let me see. So bishop. One thing I was thinking about is potentially bishop e7. If rook takes d2, bishop g5 check, king there. I don't think that's right. You can still move there, and then you really haven't acquired anything. So that's not enough. Maybe if knight, rook takes. Then we have c5, king e2. Nope, still nothing. There is a5. If bishop takes, a5, pawn push. Rook f1 check, rook f8 check. It can play there. Bishop takes, and then takes, and it's a draw, so that doesn't work. That's not a playable move. Let's see here. I'm trying to see. Huh. Let me see. Excuse me. Let me get a drink of water. Much better. Much better. Trying to see if we don't, what we actually got here. You're sure you have this set up right? Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Because, 100% okay. Okay. Boy, this is a interesting one. It's a nice pattern, yeah. I would say so. Let me see here. I'm thinking of I'm thinking one move that we haven't tried is h2, bishop takes h2. Let's see, check, king takes. Nothing. Ooh. Ah, but we didn't try this. Bishop d6. Bishop d6. If rook takes, then pawn push. And if rook slides over, you actually have queen, and then check, take there. There's mate. But if rook takes d8, then we have a queen turns into a queen, and maybe rook. No, that wouldn't work. Oh boy. Maybe something like that. And then there's no way you can stop both this threat and that. So what if king takes? I'm not really sure about that. Oh, king takes? Well, then bishop takes, and then if rook goes to d8, we push, and then if he tries checking, we can actually come up. Oops, we don't want to go up that way, sorry. This way here. And then you'll have to come down here. We queen, rook takes, and then you get the two bishops. First of all, you have to stop the queen from checking, so the best move is actually queen c6. And I really don't see any well, I guess nope, I'm sorry, that's wrong. That's mate. Sorry about that. I missed that. This is he's threatening two checks. Sorry. Yeah, that was a hiccup on my thing there. He's threatening here, and he's threatening there. So you have to think about what deals with both of those threats. You have to take in consideration that type of thing, because he's also wanting to after check. If you come down here, and then he comes in with mate, so you have to let me see here. This is a problem here, so you're gonna have to do something. What came to mind was rook takes, or check, rook takes, check. It's actually a potential and then you actually can win there, and that. So you gotta try something different than that. Taking rook a1, queen e1 check, queen g1. This should be 4. If rook there, then first you can actually just grab this. So you lose. So So that loses. Let's say queen f there. Check. If he takes, then rook b2, and that wins the queen. If he moves here, then king takes. Then you got check. 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 Kaboom. Is that right? Is that the right pattern? There's better. Let's see, the only thing I can see is queen takes check. No, that doesn't work. Not sure here, let me see. Queen check here. I'm not sure what. Is there a hint that's this? Because this one's a tough one. I think I'm might be overlooking a pattern somewhere. What piece does it actually involve moving at the beginning? What's the piece that the pawn promotion? Huh. Okay, so that is right. So here. Ah. Ah, drat. I can't believe that was it. That was an interesting one. Okay, wow, that was there. Yeah. That's the move. Yay. Wow. Those are some really good puzzles. We'll have to now get on to some of our puzzles that we're going to be working on here. Okay. Let's see, what do we got here? That was excellent. That's the first move. Right to move. Yep, you got it. King A6, then you got C8 mate. Or if you went King B8, you have mate there too. And if he takes, you have Bishop C8 mate. There's actually 3 mates there. Surprisingly, 3 mates. This one should be a walk in the park. There we go. That's like a walk in the park. This one's a little tougher. This one might take you just a second longer. I got it solved. If you need a hint, just tell me if you need a hint. Wow, nice find there. Queen takes e5 is the last one. Then you got your mate. It's queen takes e5, and then queen g7 is mate. Oh yeah, that would work too. If he tries pushing, you have another mate there too. Yeah. Yep, there we go. Yeah. Hey, you know what? It's all about your forces are willing to die for the kingdom, so that the kingdom can win. And that's why when peace sacrifices, people shouldn't take the peace sacrifices lightly. Players shouldn't, that mean. and because that was a archer, that was one of your subjects that gave its life for the kingdom, and they don't mind doing that. Right on. Double checkmate. Gotta love that. Don't get to have that every day. Hey. Okay, I want to make sure I have this right. Yep. Got it. And we're good, okay. Okay. Let's see, what do we have here? I need a break from intense study. Okay. Well, that's funny courage. Yeah. Let's see here. Yep, I think that's it. Yep, there you go. Had to make sure I saw this right. There we go. Yep, there you go. Be right back. I'll give you a second to take a look at this to see if there's what you can see. Alright. So rook e yep, then he takes, and let's see here. I should have this spot on. Well, this is an interesting. We'll promote this to the main line. Rook takes. Should take c4 as mate. I think it's a one move mate. I don't see anything else. So that's good. There we go. So what you're thinking is bishop, check, rook takes, and queen s7. Nice. Nice job. Another one. It's done. Sweet. You got it. Solved it right away. Good find there. Good find. We did it. Yes, we did. We're learning a lot. And that's the truth of the matter. What in the world? There we go. That's the truth, and we're sticking to it. We're learning a lot, and we're doing really good. So we gotta keep up the good work here. So let me see here. What are we doing? I need another rook here. Need another rook here. King there. Knight here. And I think so there. Alright. Alright, we got it. Let's see here. Got it. I got it. Let's see if you got this. If you need any help, just call. No, I was looking at that, but that he actually I guess that would work. Mine was this here. And then if pawn takes, oh, he can actually drat. So f5 takes, and okay, so that's the takes. And then if rook takes, then knight g6. Yeah. Alright, king. I don't think king could take. There's all three. There we go. We take here, here, and then rook d8, yeah. And then queen c6 is me, yep. This is the last one. And then we get to do some end game. I love the end game. Yes, I do. It's wonderful to learn. That's true. You gotta always have a good time in chess, especially when you're setting up puzzles. It's all based on, you know what? You could either, serve the Lord joyous or not, and we gotta choose joyous. Always. With a joyous heart. Okay, one more queen. Let me see here. Okay, there. Here. Yep, got it. This should be the last. This is the last one. Yep. Alright, I can erase. I can then come over to the other side and mark it. And then I'll come back and erase it. Okay, done with that one. Done with that one. Now we gotta get on to our end game. Ooh, yeah. Alright. Let's see here. What do we got? For white. Oh, you're looking at queen f5, check, king takes, and knight d6. I think that's it. I don't really see anything more than that he could do. Yeah, that's it. Alright, onward and upward to our end game course now. Oh yeah. Can't wait to complete into the next section. Here we go. White to move. Before moving on, I can imagine some of you screaming, "Wait a second, White's a pawn up and should be winning easy, right? Why bother why bother with such an example?" This is a fair question, but I can answer it with a question of my own. How often have you meant all of us, meaning all of us? He put in there like this, meaning all of us, failed to convert such a decisive plus. Many of us have. The beauty of this game is that White doesn't rest on his basically. He doesn't go lethargic, or let me see what's another word. He doesn't go weak. He doesn't become a jellyfish or whatever. Like, I'm trying to think of a word like. I guess he doesn't. What would be a good word? He could. Let me see. Complacent. There we go. I got it. Complacent. White doesn't become complacent. Passive's good too. Yeah. Complacent. He doesn't get complacent. And that's very important. I like passive, complacent, and so you can actually lose a game that you're even up upon because of complacency or passivity. In fact, he does what all should learn to do in such an instance. Don't give the opponent any counterplay whatsoever, and constantly strive to make new positions, gains in the form of multi-enemy weaknesses. So like if you're able to sometimes get a pawn here and fracture, have basically this pawn here, black has to take, now black's got a pawn here, you can skedaddle your rook over to a1, now you got a target. So this would be gone, yeah, but you would have two pawns to take scope on right there. And then this would end up becoming a weak point too. So that's what you have to look at. And remember, this is all based on patience. They call it cat and mouse. We call it patience. So. It actually happened, I gotta say this, in the U.S. Championship. It was the last round. It was Jeffrey X actually played Hikaru Nakamura, and all Jeffrey needed was a draw. Yeah, that's right. And what Jeffrey did was he played not to lose. And what happened when he played not to lose is he lost. Nakamura played the Dutch defense on him, the Leningrad Dutch, and Jeffrey missed a lot. This one combination with a rook to e6, which would have complicated the position and potentially brought it to a draw. But because he was playing for a draw, see, if he would have drew the game, he would have been able to get into the World Cup. And then he would have been able to potentially, if he made it to the last two positions, sat for the candidates tournament. But because Jeffrey played it safe, rather than go, all out punching and swinging, he ended up losing and lost his opportunity to the World Cup. And so it's a good example. You get to see it in chess a lot, and you always gotta, like what you're saying, go aggressive. But remember, smart aggressiveness is how grandmasters win. I've seen many grandmasters do that over the board, and I've been able to do a couple of those sweep maneuvers too. That I've won a couple games that actually were drawn because of playing aggressively even though it's drawn, and your opponent thinks it's a draw, and what happens is they play inferior moves, and then you're able to play aggressively even more, and you can win a draw in a game with enough aggression. But do it wisely. Okay, so White played the brilliant move, not brilliant, but excellent move, Queen to c5. First of all, sorry about that. I got to make this into a study. I almost forgot. There we go. Chapter 5. Okay, so this gets a excellent move. Yeah, this more or less forces black, who would love to retain the queen and keep things as complicated as possible, to accept a queen trade via a6. He actually played queen to f5 here, but they're saying that potentially a6 runs into queen to e5. Yeah, it runs into queen to e5. And then the next couple ideas is getting a pawn to g5 and winning the rook. So he has to basically trade down. Queen takes, rook takes, and then king to f1. Don't forget, your king is a vital attacker as well in the endgame, especially now that the queens are off the board. The kings come into their ultimate authority as, right, getting on their mighty steed and charging out into battle is right now. There's no more archers on the board. There's no huge generals with big muscles and everything that are going to come and hurt them. So it's time for them to earn their keep, and so they're like, we're coming out now. So the king's ready to bring some hurt out on the field. Wisely bringing the king into the center. Absolutely horrible is rook to c8. See, this is actually a complete blunder. This is like, to Jeremy Silman, a horrible move. What's the hurry? Rook takes, pawn takes, king f6, f4, king f5, king f2, king e4. Then black's the one in charge. At this point, black's the one in charge. So what's the hurry of bringing this out too fast? No, there's nothing he can do. If he tries coming over to a5, you can always lock it down with c3, and there's nothing that your opponent can do. So after this, if he tries like rook a5, b3, and your right is ready to come up the board. King f8, rook c5 now. Rook c5 now does. Now white is happy to transpose into a rook and pawn endgame, but this time black must avoid it since the c pawn would now be supported. See, if he were to take, he actually played rook f6, but if he did play rook takes, pawn takes, king e7, king e6, d3, king d5, and then b4. And now what to do? a5, check, king e5, b takes a, is winning for white. And there's what really can black do? He could try coming in here, but that actually surrenders the d4 to white, and it's like, ugh, I don't think we want to do that. No siree. So that's why he tries to keep everything as complicated as possible on the board. Rook a1 is a really nice move, a good move. A strong move that forces the creation of a hole on b6. This b6 hole is going to be vital later on when these rooks come off. See, with a6, and let's say the rooks get traded off somehow here, the king can now actually infiltrate in via c5 and b6 at that point. So after that, we'll freeze the pawns. Note that white isn't going to try to win by using his extra pawn. Instead, he wants to create as many weaknesses as possible in the enemy camp until the defense falls apart. You can never give the opponent too many weaknesses. I have to keep that in mind in my play. That, you know what, don't just go slamming pawns up the board. Make sure you provoke as many weaknesses as you can. a6 is a forced move. Rook e5 is what we were talking about. Stopping the enemy king from coming in. This shuts out the king from coming in. So the king's shut out to the center. Now our patient white. Now, note how patient white is, and he is slowly playing for new weaknesses, and how he is going out of his way to prevent his enemy from getting counterplay. So, first of all, he created a new weakness when he played a6. b6 became a weak spot, and after that was created, he brought his rook to e5, stopping any counterplay of the king coming into the center. So he created a new weakness and stopped the counterplay in the center. And if a rook ever played e6, he'd be more than happy to take that, which that creates another weakness. Now the pawn on e6 is weak, and b7's weak, and h7's weak, so his whole entire camp is starting to crumble like the walls of Jericho. Okay. Rook d6. He can't trade. If he tried playing b6, a5 creates a tremendous amount of, and then leaves the c5 and the c6 as holes. That's a new weakness, and ready to be accessed via the king coming in. And gobble, gobble. He gets to gobble these pawns up. Yum yum. The king will have a full stomach. at that point. A6 is also a really strong move. I mean, A5 is also freezing black's pawns on his A6 pawn and B7 pawn in their tracks. And black plays passive. His white king will now calmly walk all the way in to the, as they say, the promised land. Yeah, he's making the promised land available for the king. F6, king. Oops. Yep, that's right. It does for sure. Rook c5. King e7 allows the king to come in, but then g4. Now he's stopping any of black's pushing. He kind of shuts it all down. Now that black is more or less helpless, white begins a new plan. He is intending to push his g pawn to g5, exchange it for the f pawn, and create a passed e pawn. That's his goal. So h6 is played to stop that. King e2. We're like, you know what? Basically, he's saying whatever you're gonna do only weakens your position. So he's in total passivity. Rook e6. F4. King d6. Total passivity. H4. King F. And then H5. Exclam. G5 doesn't really do as much as we would want it to. And F5. And B4 is another way to win, since his plan to march the king is it's hard to deal with now. So you have to be really careful when you play these moves here. Make sure that he's gonna play B4, and then he'll pry open the king, the B file, and get the king involved. But just be really cautious with your play when it comes to doing that. G takes is forced. If he tried G5, then F takes G5. F takes G5. Rook to F5 check, trapping the king on the side of the board. If King E7, then King D3. And we've created our idea of the past protected Isolani's, hanging Isolani's, not Isolani's, but hanging center pawns. So he played, come on, not again. Ah, perfect, okay. So we played H takes. Suddenly black is not only a pawn down, but also must, suddenly black is not only a pawn down, but also must care for his weak H6. no, not again. Come on. Ugh. Thank you for your patience on the internet issue right now. All right. So now we have to. Now black has to babysit h6 and f6 and watch over b7. Yeah. King g6 now. King d3. Rook d7 to babysit all these spots now. e4. King h7. Things are looking grim, so black allows a little sequence that leads to the exchange of a few pawns. However, this fails to ease black's pain. g5, f takes, and then king g6, rook takes check, king takes. No doubt black was no doubt was happy. Black no doubt was happy. Sorry, I got that tongue tied there. That he has managed to trade off his weak pawns on f6 and h7. The defender is usually delighted to exchange pawns. Unfortunately, this position is reality dead lost for black anyways, so it's over. Okay, rook h2 is a really nice move as well. It threatens to actually trap the king off to the side of the board, away from the action on f2, and then get his basically his pawns moving. So h2, f2, and then in, and then the king will come in and escort the pawns down. king f6. He's got to cross, as they say, he's got to cross no man's land to get to a better spot. No choice. e5 check. King e6. Rook h6 check. King d5. Oh man, he's so close to getting checkmated. Again, there's no choice. Rook e7 does nothing but lose, because it trades off rooks, and then he takes, and then white's actually winning now. And yeah. f5 does, let's see here. Yeah, f5 does, that's right, f5. Rook f6 check. Forces the black to no man's land out in the middle of nowhere. So he has to actually go into the almost the worst square, b4. Another no counterplay allowed. More move. Note that c6 has been stopped. Black finds himself in Zook Swamp. Any pawn loses material. A king move is illegal anymore, and the rook's moving away would lead to mate on d6. And back to d8, which would allow white to basically infiltrate in even more. So rook d8 is the only move that doesn't lose material. Forced, the rook must stay on the d file. Moving would allow rook d8 mate or d6 mate. So now king to rook h7, rook b8, rook e6 or e7 is also another beautiful move. It stops the king from escaping. No counterplay. This rook has to move now. b6 has to be played. Actually, to end, black must either give up the b pawn, push his b pawn. So he's got to give it up. If he plays rook h8, is met by d7 check, king e6, and then we just take the pawn here. And when black should resign here. There's no real counterplay. You can also already just take here if you wanted to, and after rook h3, there's nothing really that he could do. You gotta be careful. So he's still got some play left in the position. Rook d7 check, king e, and rook d6, and these pawns are all just gonna start falling off the board like a tsunami. The rook's just gonna engulf anything in its path. We'll call it on this, because this is we're starting a new chapter. It's called All King and Pawn Endgames Are Confusing. That's the next chapter that we're going to be going over inside of, I believe it's chapter 8, part 8. Do you have any questions on here before we log off? Yep, that's the name of the that's the name of the section that he says. All king and pawn endgames are confusing. That's funny. Okay. I wonder wanted to thank you all for logging on. This has been great. You know what? We're doing good. We'll keep pushing forward, and you know what? We become what we think about. If we, think about the Lord Jesus and everything, the blessings that we have, our the jobs we got, and the ability to do chess and all that, and what He did for us. You can't but have a great day. Even sometimes when you feel tired and you're like exhausted, what you have to do is remember that, you know what? If you think you can, you will. If you think you can't, you won't. Either way, you're right. So if you think you can endure through it, you can. If you think you can't, you won't. But hey, why wouldn't a chess player want to endure, right? That's right. Every long journey begins with one small step. So that's Yasser Seirawan statement. And we got to put on our Grandmaster glasses and remember that to treasure your victory and learn from your losses. And remember that mistakes do not define you. It's how you handle the mistakes that define you. And also, what we have to do is remember that knowing is not enough. We must apply, and willing is not enough. We must do. And if that's the case, then we're going to have to keep push forward with what Bruce Lee said, that there are no limits to the human potential of our mind. There are plateaus, and we must not stay there. We must go beyond them at all costs. We got to strive to go beyond the plateau. And he also said that he didn't fear the person who practiced 10,000 individual kicks. He feared the person who practiced one kick 10,000 times. And I gotta say, the reason he probably feared him was the dedication that person had to those practices. So like when we dedicate ourselves to studying a chess game, we do our puzzles, and then we do endgame. You're doing what Bruce Lee said that most martial artists fear. You're practicing one thing 10,000 times, and with that, you'll be unstoppable, because you'll know exactly when to drop the traps. And that's the same thing that we're learning in our end game. Even if you're up a pawn, remember, provoke as many weaknesses as you can before you push. Remember what Jeremy Silman says, there's never enough weaknesses that you can provoke in your enemy's camp. So always be striving to provoke in an endgame where you're up a pawn as many weaknesses as you can. And remember we talked about, they call it cat and mouse, but we call it patience play endgame. And that's what we also need to work on, is patience in our endgames. Don't rush it. Don't and make sure your moves have a point to them. That's very important as well. But besides that, you know what? We want to use our talents to honor the Lord, and to always, bring more people into the chess fold. And that should be the goal of a chess player, is to bring more people into chess. And you know what? When it's all said and done, it's all, what's your legacy going to be, my friends? What is your legacy going to be, my chess friends? Are you going to take the knowledge with you? Are you going to either write it down, start a podcast, or share it with maybe a friend or something? See, my Grandmaster teacher has passed on to be with the Lord, but the knowledge that he's left with me, I'm able to share with you, my chess friends. And with that, his legacy never is gone. It still lives on, and each person that hears the Chess Cruncher lessons is actually a piece of what my Grandmaster teacher taught me. So I'm teaching you what my teacher taught me, so that when you share it with whoever, your friends or our family, a little bit of Chess Cruncher gets to be shared with your family as well. So that's what it means when we say that when you sit down and you hang up your coat, you hang up your hat, you sit down and study when most won't. A chest cruncher does, and that makes all the difference. That's what that means. That's the chest cruncher mentality, that we don't keep the knowledge for ourselves. We share it with the chess community. And I wanted to thank you for logging on, and I wanted to thank you, Chess 360, for those puzzles. And keep up the good work, everybody who's participating and listening on your puzzles and studies. And always remember, the Lord is the one who we should show ourselves approved to. And I'll leave you with that. As Wesley So says to the Lord Jesus, and as I say, God bless, and I'll see you next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, and evening, and Lord willing, I'll be back on tomorrow. And we'll keep pushing forward, and we'll be able to get to the next chapter in the end game. I'm really excited about it. And I'll see you tomorrow. Great job, Team Chess Cruncher. Hoorah, be blessed, and I'll see you tomorrow with more chess. 2 thumbs up, and keep studying and sharing the love of the Lord and chess. Bye bye. I'll see you.